see, and nobody's taking time to fix what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
So they just move on to hurt the next one.
Yeah.
And they get divorced again,
and
they say,
kids end up in the middle of it.
Yeah, and then the cycle starts.
Yeah,
because the kids are going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and then the kid has to remember the new dad's name and the new mom's name, and
I've known some people who were single parents, and them kids, boy, they want a daddy bad. You know what I mean? You better keep it.
I'm guessing they were trying to pawn that off on you by that reaction.
You know what I mean? You better keep your children to yourself.
So that's what we're saying, content and character. Martin Luther King was putting it into a bigger context as far as, being able to judge people as a whole. But you know what? If you get in relationships, content of character. I know there have been a couple of times, where somebody's like, man, why don't you go out with that girl? I'm like, she's nuts. Like, I got to know her and she's crazy. But she's attractive. She's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a conversation with her, and then, of course, then you realize who you're talking to as the other guy, and they go, man, well, who cares about a conversation? Like, you know what? Exactly. Who cares about a conversation? You just stop talking to me, okay?
Yeah.
You go on because I can't have a conversation with you either. But, heck, there was a certain one that when I told you got to talk to her for longer than 10 seconds, you did, and you went, man, don't do it. That was so funny, man. That was so funny. I was like, something's telling me don't do it. And then you went, yeah, don't do it, man.
Run for your life
as fast as you possibly can.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, I'm sorry. I like to get to know them. I can't just look at some beautiful girl and go, that's it, I'm gonna marry her. And then, you get a couple years down the road, you've been married or whatever, and suddenly you realize, man, this girl is stupid. I cannot talk to her. And she might be thinking the same thing about me, about whatever. So then you end up, and if you've had a kid by this point, well, guess what? Now mommy and daddy hate each other. You're going to get a divorce, kids thrown in the middle of it.
See, with my stuff, it was like, a few years down the road, she's like, no, he's really good looking. He got to go.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
He's a pretty boy.
That is even a new one from you on that.
That was a joke. That's not the way it happened.
Oh, man.
One of these days she go smack me.
And I've seen her. She's a little bit taller. She could probably, I'm sure she could reach your face.
Oh, yeah. She ain't got to jump.
And she's not, okay, folks, she's not tall, but she's a little above average height, I guess, if you want to say, for a girl. So, yeah, she could reach you.
Oh, please. Like, she ain't telling the jokes about me, too. I know it's happening. She tell them to my face.
Well, at least it's open.
Well, we have an open divorce.
Well, and that's another thing. So many people try to say that if you get divorced, that's not right. You can't be friends with them.
Yeah.
Why not?
You know what I mean? Like if you know somebody for that long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, granted, I've never really ended up being friends with any of my ex-girlfriends either. But it wasn't just because I thought, I can't be friends with them.
I have never had an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
The only thing I have ex is an ex-wife.
I don't know which one's worse. Because I didn't have to go through any kind of court dealings and signings of papers or anything like that just to break up.
My stuff wasn't even like that, really.
Yeah.
My stuff was like, okay, it was over with.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's why I could talk about it a lot because it wasn't any big, long genre.
Yeah.
And you ain't hearing no horror stories. You hear me telling stupid little jokes.
Yeah. That is true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
I have a bad feeling mine would have gone through long, drawn-out court processes and all that sort of stuff.
But you see, I think the thing with me is I am so laid back. The point in arguing with me is not going to get anywhere. So I figured that's why. That's why there wasn't any big tussle.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, whatever.
Or, hey, well, there you go.
and there you go. And there I go.
Oh, really? I just keep everything. I'll take my clothes, okay? I'm good. I don't see the point in fighting, man. What's the big point? You know what I mean? Then you end up hating each other.
Well,
and
especially
then you waste
if
a whole
you-
lot of happiness hating.
Yeah, exactly, and especially if you take into consideration content of character, then hopefully the fights can at least be to a minimum.
But you know, I've heard people, man. When I was on the job, I heard some people, you know, talking about, well, if you don't fight, then that, you know, fighting shows that you care.
That's the stupidest thing I've
That's
ever
what I
heard.
said to them. And they changed their tune after I said, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. You know, you have to fight to show that you care. So I guess when people go to war, that means they're going to kill the people to show them that they care,
Yeah.
huh?
I care about you,
stupid,
buddy,
you know
man.
what
I
mean?
care,
Blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? What is this all about? You gotta,
I know we just
you
blew
know,
up your building, but I care about
know
you,
what I mean?
man.
Because if you don't care about it, then you're going to go, oh, whatever. You know, I'd rather go whatever and not say stuff I don't mean to create a problem in the long run.
But it should all still just come down to being able to talk. Nobody seems to want to, and how many times have we told this bit? You've got to be able to just talk. Too many
Yeah.
people want to yell and scream and fight and argue, and
It's the
How many-
makeup. It's a makeup boogaloo after. That's what.
but you know what? The kid sits through hearing the yelling and the screaming at each other.
Oh, you know, we're married folks.
Yeah.
I mean, because you stay
Well,
in the city.
yeah, but how many people aren't married and have kids? And
Lots.
stand there, yeah, exactly, and stand there and yell and scream at each other while the kid's sitting there listening
Because
to all of it.
wasn't you the one that had neighbors that would like have the drag down fights, and then later on they have the drag down
No,
action?
that was actually girl I was seeing at the time. That was her upstairs neighbors.
Oh, okay.
That was one I remember. We were sitting on the couch watching TV, and they are just yelling and screaming at each other. And I looked up and said, "What in the world is going on up there?" And she goes, "Don't worry, it'll be fine by tonight." And I just went, "What?" Sure enough, later on that night, wow.
See, and that's the problem I think a lot, because people use that to show how much they love.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, as much as people could talk big game and stuff like that, that stuff just lasts a few seconds actually. So that don't prove anything.
I wonder how many guys went, "Nah, not last few seconds."
You know what I
man,
mean? It's
no."
because you see, people just pay attention to that particular action. They don't pay
Yeah.
attention to everything leading up to it.
Yeah, the fight might have been an all-day thing.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the whole romance part about it.
Yeah.
The front end of it is what leads up to.
Good night, everybody. I think we brought this show to a
The
close.
front end of it is what leads up to the few seconds.
On that note, I think we need to get back to the music.
But I mean, I'm just being logical here.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying? I know it sounds kind of, like it's a joke, but it's the truth. And that's the thing about it, because the people think that's the part that's going to make up
Yeah.
the situation. But no, what's going to make up the situation is how you treat that person up until that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they're not using how they treat the person up until that point, so then they're not getting that vibe. You know what I mean? It's just a big, big bang, bang, boom, and God, you know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
Anyway,
man.
let's
I
get
think
this
we got some bloopers from tonight.
but you know what I'm saying, though? Yeah, so there's no communication.
Yeah,
Because that
yeah.
that front end of it is where the communication is. That's where the verbal communication, that's where the emotional communication, the spiritual communication. I remember one time I said something about that action being spiritual, and somebody said, "What does that have to do with religion?" My response: my body's a temple.
I can see you saying that.
You know what I mean? It's not a toilet, it's a temple. All right.
Oh, man. So after all